Before we begin today's story, I'd like to invite all of you to subscribe to the channel so that stories like this can reach more people who may be going through similar family struggles. And if you've ever faced something like this, a fight over inheritance, a family torn apart by property, don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Your words might just help someone find peace in their own home again. There are wounds deeper than blood, and sometimes the people who hurt us the most are the ones who share our blood. This is the story of three brothers, bound by the same roots, the same childhood, and the same land, until greed, pride, and silence turned love into bitterness. Let's listen to Three Brothers and the Inherited Land. The old village of Pu Thin lay quietly beneath a pale morning mist, where every rooster's crow echoed like an echo of time. Here, the Lam family had lived for generations. Simple farmers whose lives were tied to the smell of soil and the rhythm of the seasons. In a small wooden house by the river, Mr. Lam and Mrs. Hoa raised their three sons, Nam, Hung, and Tu. Theirs was a life of modest means but rich affection. Nam, the eldest, was quiet and dependable, the kind of man who carried more than he spoke. Hung, the middle son, was ambitious and restless, always dreaming of a life beyond the rice fields. And Tu, the youngest, was still a child, bright-eyed and full of wonder, who often sat by the old guava tree, drawing pictures in the dirt. Their father, Mr. Lum, was a man of few words but great integrity. Every morning, he would walk through the small plot of land behind the house, an acre of soil passed down through generations. He often said, "This land is not just earth and grass. It's our roots, our ancestors, our memories. One day, when I'm gone, promise me you'll keep it." Together. The three boys always nodded, not really understanding what he meant. For them, the land was just where they played, where they helped their mother plant vegetables, and where their father worked until sunset. Years passed quietly. The seasons painted the same pictures: golden rice fields, children's laughter, and the smell of rain-soaked earth. Life was simple, but it was whole. Until one day, their father fell ill. It was a quiet sickness, slow and merciless. The laughter in the house faded, replaced by the creaking of the old bed and the soft voice of their mother praying every night. When Mr. Lum felt his time was near, he called his three sons to his bedside. His hands, once strong and calloused, now trembled like dry leaves. "Nam," he said, "you are the eldest. When I'm gone, take care of your mother and this land. But remember, land can be divided, love cannot. Hung," he turned to the second son, "don't let pride blind your heart. A brother's love is worth more than gold. Tu," he smiled faintly, "you are young, but you'll understand someday. The blood that runs in your veins comes from this soil. Never forget it." That night, rain fell gently on the roof, and the lamp in the corner flickered like a dying heartbeat. By morning, their father was gone. They buried him beneath the mango tree in the yard, the tree he planted when Nam was born. As the priest's chant faded into the distance, the three brothers stood side by side, eyes red, hands trembling. Nam whispered, "We'll keep it together, Father. I promise." And for a moment, the wind carried their vow through the fields like a sacred echo. But as time would prove, even the strongest promises can crumble. Not because of betrayal, but because of human hearts that forget what truly matters. After their father's funeral, silence wrapped the Lam household like a heavy fog. The old radio no longer played folk songs in the evenings. The rice fields behind the house stood still, the wind passing through them like a sigh from another time. Mrs. Hoa sat by the window most days, her hair turning whiter with each sunrise. Her husband's absence left a void that not even her son's presence could fill. Nam, the eldest, tried to hold the family together. He would wake early, tend to the fields, repair the roof, and make sure his mother ate her meals. His voice was calm, his actions steady, and his silence heavy. Hung, the middle brother, began to change. He had always been restless, dreaming of more than the life their father had known. Now, with the patriarch gone, that hunger for something greater grew. Tu, the youngest, had just finished school. He was gentle, idealistic, and perhaps too naive for the world. He admired Nam's strength and envied Hung's confidence. But deep down, he still clung to the childhood belief that love could solve everything. One evening, Nam found an old notebook among his father's belongings. Its cover was worn, the ink faded. Inside were pages filled with his father's handwriting. Lists of harvests, debts paid, memories recorded, and near the back, a simple line written in trembling ink. "If my sons love one another, the land will never die." Nam closed the notebook slowly, his eyes moist. He felt both comforted and burdened. That night, as the crickets sang outside, he sat with his brothers under the mango tree. "Father wanted us to keep the land together," he said softly. "Not divide it. We'll all work it and share what we earn." Hung frowned. "Nam, I respect Father's wishes, but times are changing. You can't live your whole life plowing fields. Look at the city. People are building, trading, making money. This land is worth something more than crops." Nam's jaw tightened. "Money can't replace roots. Roots don't feed dreams," Hung shot back. Tu looked between them, uneasy. "Can't we do both? Keep the land, but maybe find other work too?" Nam's gaze softened. "You're still young, Tu. You'll understand one day. The land keeps us together. If we sell it, we'll lose more than soil." That night they went to bed with words unspoken, like seeds buried under dry earth, waiting for the first storm. Weeks turned into months. Nam continued tending the fields, earning little but enough to live. Hung left for the city, chasing opportunity. At first, he sent letters home, short ones filled with excitement and plans. But over time, they became less frequent. Tu stayed behind, helping Nam and caring for their mother. He missed Hung, missed the laughter they once shared. Every time the postman passed by, his heart leapt, but most days no letter came. Mrs. Hoa would sigh. "Your father's spirit must be lonely seeing his sons scattered." Nam would answer quietly, "He trusted us. I'll keep that promise." But somewhere deep in his chest, a doubt began to grow. 1 year later, Hung returned. He arrived not on foot like before, but in a shiny car, wearing a crisp shirt and a confident smile. "Brother!" Tu ran out to greet him, eyes wide with joy. Nam came out from the field, wiping sweat from his brow. "You're back." Hung hugged his mother, gave her gifts, sugar, clothes, medicine. She cried tears of joy. That night during dinner, the air was filled with laughter again. Hung spoke of the city, tall buildings, business deals, endless chances. Then, between bites of rice, he said casually, "Nam, I've been thinking. The land's value has gone up. A developer offered to buy it for a good price. We could use the money to open a shop or invest. It's time to move forward." Nam set down his bowl. His voice was calm, but his eyes darkened. "You want to sell Father's land? It's just land," Hung said, smiling. "He'd want us to live better lives." "It's not just land," Nam replied. "It's his grave, our childhood, our blood. You can't sell that." Tu shifted uneasily. "Maybe. We can keep the part with the grave and sell the rest." Nam turned to him sharply. "And what will be left of us then?" The silence that followed was thick. Hung stood up slowly, his smile fading. "You always think you're right, don't you, Nam? You're just like him. Too proud to change." Nam's voice was steady but low. "And you're too blind to remember who you are." That night, Hung packed his bags again. He didn't look back when he left. Mrs. Hoa cried quietly in her room, and Tu sat outside, watching his brother's taillights disappear down the dirt road. Under the same mango tree, Nam stood alone. He looked at the soil, dark and wet from the evening rain. The same land his father had worked, the same land his brother wanted to sell. And, for the first time, he felt the weight of a curse in his father's final words. A family that forgets its roots will lose itself to the wind. Months had passed since Hung left again, and yet his shadow lingered in every corner of the house. His laughter no longer echoed in the courtyard, but sometimes, late at night, Mrs. Hoa would still set out 3 bowls of rice, one for each of her sons, unable to accept the space that had grown between them. Nam buried himself in work. From dawn until dusk, he labored on the land as if his sweat alone could wash away the cracks forming in his family. But even he could feel it. The silence had become heavier than before, like the sky before a storm. Tu tried to bridge the distance. He sent Hung messages, called when he could. Sometimes Hung answered, other times he didn't. When he did, his tone was warm but distant. He spoke of city lights, business partners, and plans that felt like another world. One evening, a letter arrived. It was an T handwritten. It came in a white envelope with a printed logo, Loom Development Partners. Nam tore it open and read silently. When he finished, his hands trembled. To the Lam family, as part of our new development project in Pu Thin Village, we are interested in purchasing your family's land. The offered price is generous, and compensation will include relocation assistance and housing benefits. Please contact us to discuss details. Sincerely, Lam Hung. For a moment, Nam couldn't breathe. He read the signature again as if hoping it was someone else, but it wasn't. His own brother, the same man who once ran barefoot through the rice fields beside him, was now trying to buy the land under their father's grave. Nam crumpled the letter in his fist, his voice breaking. So, this is who you've become, Hung. That night, Tu found him sitting outside under the mango tree, the letter beside him. He wants to develop it, Tu said quietly after reading. He wants to erase it, Nam replied. His tone was low, but every word cut deep. Maybe he just sees things differently. No, he sees money, that's all. Tu hesitated. Brother, maybe he thinks it's for the best. The land isn't as fertile as before. We could… Nam stood abruptly. No, you don't sell your father's bones for a few pieces of gold. Tu flinched at the sharpness in his voice. Nam sighed, rubbing his face. I'm sorry, I can't let this happen. The moon hung above them, pale and distant. The wind rustled through the mango leaves, the same tree under which their father was buried. Father, what would you do? Nam whispered to the night. Days later, Hung returned again. Not alone this time. He came with a group of men in business suits, their shoes shining, their voices polite but firm. They stood at the edge of the field, surveying the land as though it already belonged to them. Nam walked toward them, his clothes dusty, his expression calm but unreadable. Brother, Hung said, smiling as if nothing had happened. You got my letter? I did. So, what do you think? The offer is fair. More than fair. You could live comfortably for the rest of your life. Nam's eyes narrowed. And where will father rest when you dig up this place? Hung's smile faltered. We'll move the grave. Properly. Respectfully. Nam took a step closer, his voice trembling with controlled anger. You don't move a soul like a piece of furniture. The men behind Hung shifted uncomfortably. One of them whispered, Maybe we should come back another day. But Hung raised a hand. No, he has to understand. He turned back to Nam. You're clinging to the past, Nam. The world doesn't wait for tradition anymore. This land won't feed you forever. Don't be foolish. Nam's face darkened. And you think selling it makes you wise. Hung's expression hardened. I'm trying to build something better. You're just afraid of change. Nam stepped back, his voice low but steady. If this is your better, I want no part of it. This land stays. You will not touch it. The silence that followed was sharp as a blade. Finally, Hung sighed. "You've made your choice." He turned to leave, but paused halfway. "One day, when you have nothing left, you'll remember this moment, and you'll know you were wrong." Nam didn't answer. He just stood there, fists clenched, as Hung's car disappeared down the road in a cloud of dust. That night, Nam couldn't sleep. He sat outside until dawn, watching the first light crawl over the rice fields. Tu came to sit beside him, a cup of tea in his hands. Neither spoke for a long time. "You think I did the right thing?" Nam finally asked. "I think." Tu hesitated. "I think you did what you believe Father would have wanted." "And Hung?" "He did what he thought was right too." Nam gave a bitter smile. "So, right has two meanings now?" Tu looked away. "Sometimes. Maybe it does." The morning wind carried the scent of wet earth. Nam closed his eyes, remembering his father's words. Land can be divided, love cannot. But in that moment he realized love could crack long before land ever did. And so began the true wound between the brothers, a wound not of soil or ownership, but of pride. It was the kind of wound that doesn't bleed, but festers in silence until it destroys everything in its path. The air in Pu Thin had grown heavy that summer. The rice fields shimmered gold under the sun, yet inside the Lam family home, tension ran thicker than the mud in the paddies. Hung had returned once again, this time not alone. Along with him came two lawyers, a surveyor, and a notary, all symbols of the cold, bureaucratic world that had invaded the quiet village. Nam stood at the edge of the field, watching them measure boundaries, marking spots with little flags. "Brother," Hung said, voice casual as if nothing had changed. "The process has to move quickly. The developer is eager. They're offering more than we ever imagined." Nam's jaw tightened. "And what about Father's grave? Or our childhood? Does that mean nothing to you?" Hung waved a hand dismissively. "Sentiment doesn't pay bills. The land will be used efficiently. You can stay if you like, help manage the compensation, or walk away. Your choice." Tu, sitting quietly on the porch steps, felt his stomach twist. "Hung, is this really what you want? To fight over soil and money while Mother grows weaker every day?" Hung ignored him. He was already speaking to the surveyor, pointing and giving instructions. Days passed, and each one brought more friction. Nam worked tirelessly, planting seedlings and repairing the old wooden fences, while Hung argued with the lawyers over contract clauses, valuations, and deadlines. Tu tried to mediate, suggesting compromise. "We sell part of the land and keep the rest for the family," he proposed. "Compromise?" Nam snapped one evening. "You think you can balance Father's grave with a bank account? This isn't just land, Tu. It's blood, and Hung doesn't see it." Tu flinched, but before he could reply, Hung's voice cut from the doorway. "Nam, your stubbornness will ruin everything. You're being unreasonable. You think you're honoring Father, but all you're doing is keeping us trapped in poverty." Nam stepped closer, his shadow long against the wall. "And you think Father would have wanted you to trample over his bones for money?" Hung laughed, sharp and bitter. "Bones don't feed anyone, Nam. Wake up." The arguments escalated. Words turned into shouts. Accusations flew like storm-driven leaves. "You're greedy," Nam yelled. "You're blind," Hung shot back. "You're both wrong," Tu cried, tears streaming down his face, feeling helpless as the family he loved crumbled before him. Mrs. Hoa, frail and trembling, tried to intervene, but her voice was drowned in the torrent of anger. She clutched her chest and her legs gave way. The men rushed to her side. Her face was pale, her breath shallow. "Mother!" Nam and Tu shouted, kneeling beside her. Hung looked on, guilt flashing for the first time across his face, but only for a moment. "I didn't mean—" Nam cut him off. "You didn't care enough to prevent this." The incident left the family in shock. Neighbors whispered about the Lam household. a once respected family now known for bitter fights over a few acres of land. Tu spent the night by his mother's side, silently praying for her recovery. Nam sat in the fields, staring at the flags Hung had planted. Each one feels like a wound, he thought. Each one is a scar that won't heal. Hung returned to the city after that day. He sent letters less and less often. Each message was polite but empty, a reminder that the bond they once shared had begun to fray. By the end of the month, the unspoken truth became clear. The land that had been meant to unite them had become a wedge between brothers. The price of inheritance was not money. It was love, trust, and family. And for the first time, Nam realized that some battles could not be fought with strength alone. Sometimes, the fiercest wars are fought within the heart, and the enemy is pride. Weeks passed, and the village of Pu Thin murmured like a river flowing under ice. The Lam family's dispute was no longer a private grief. It had become public. Whispers traveled through alleys and tea stalls. Neighbors shook their heads, remembering the once happy family now divided by greed, pride, and ambition. Hung returned this time with a legal document in hand, a lawsuit to formally divide the inherited land, claiming his share and seeking to sell it to a developer. Nam refused to open the envelope at first, sensing the storm inside. When he finally read the formal notice, his heart sank. "He's going to court," Nam said to Tu quietly. "He's gone too far," Tu whispered. Nam's eyes were dark, but his voice was calm. "This isn't just land. This is our father's grave, our childhood, our roots. I won't let it happen." The next day, Hung arrived at the family home, lawyers in tow. "Nam," Hung said, his voice even, almost cold. "I didn't want it to come to this, but you've left me no choice. We must do what is fair according to the law." Nam stared at him, gripping the wooden railing tightly. "Yeah, fair? Fair is sharing meals, helping each other, keeping family promises. Not turning our father's land into money in someone else's pocket." Tu tried to intervene. "Can't we negotiate? Maybe divide a portion and keep the rest for mother's care?" Hung shook his head. "I've decided. The lawyers will handle the rest." The betrayal cut deeper than any blade. For Nam, it wasn't just the land. It was the trust broken. The memory of childhood walks along the river, of laughter under the mango tree. Every moment felt poisoned by Hung's ambition. Tu found himself torn between the two. He loved both brothers, but the legal battle made him feel like a spectator in a war he did not start. Late at night, Tu sat on the porch with Nam, trying to find a solution. "Brother, maybe if we let him sell a part, we can avoid fighting," Tu said, voice trembling. "Avoid fighting?" Nam asked bitterly. "Tu, he's selling more than land. He's selling our family's honor. You don't understand yet, but this wound, it won't heal." Hung's legal action triggered tension not only within the family but across the village. The local court soon summoned them, and neighbors watched as Nam and Hung argued in front of a judge. "This is my share," Hung declared. "And this is what remains of my father's memory," Nam shot back. Tu watched silently from the bench, his heart heavy. Every word spoken in the courtroom echoed in his chest. A painful reminder that family could be destroyed faster than land could be divided. Back at home, Mrs. Hoa grew weaker. She no longer cooked, no longer smiled. Each morning, she would sit by the window, staring at the fields, silently hoping the brothers would reconcile. But her hope seemed as fragile as the first spring buds after frost. Nam would wake at dawn, tending to the soil his father once worked, finding solace in labor, but never escaping the shadow of betrayal. Tu, caught between love and loyalty, tried to mediate, but found himself increasingly resentful of Hung's arrogance. "Why can't he see what he's doing?" Tu whispered one evening. "Because some wounds grow on pride, not earth," Nam replied quietly. By the end of the month, tension had ripened into open hostility. The brothers no longer spoke outside the courtroom. Each meeting at home was strained. The mango tree, once a symbol of childhood joy, now cast long shadows over angry faces and silent resentment. And in the quiet nights, Nam would whisper to himself, "Father, forgive me. I fear we may have lost more than land." The seeds of betrayal, once small and hidden, had begun to sprout, and there was no turning back. The sun rose slowly over Pu Thin, casting long shadows over the rice paddies and the old Lam household. But within the house, there was no warmth, only tension. The once familiar walls seemed to echo with every harsh word exchanged, every unspoken accusation and every memory of laughter now drowned in bitterness. Hung had returned from the city with news. The court had accepted his petition to divide the inherited land. The legal papers had arrived, stamped and signed, binding them into an official dispute that could not be ignored. "The division is final, Nam. You have no choice now," Hung said, standing tall, his tone precise, almost clinical. Nam's hands trembled slightly as he held the papers. He could feel the weight of years of labor, sacrifice, and memories pressing down upon him. "No choice," he repeated, voice low but sharp. "There is always a choice, Hung. You choose greed, but I choose loyalty to our father's memory." Tu watched from the corner, torn between the two men he loved. He wanted to intervene, but fear and doubt held him back. "There must be a way to stop this," he whispered almost to himself. Days became weeks. Nam devoted himself entirely to the land, working from dawn until dusk. He repaired fences, watered seedlings, and tended the grave of their father with hands calloused from relentless labor. Each day, he felt Hung's shadow, the city-slicked middle brother whose vision of progress had already begun to encroach upon the fields they once ran through as children. The village watched the Lam family with quiet curiosity and whispered gossip. "The three brothers who once laughed together are now strangers," they said. Meanwhile, Hung prepared to sell portions of the land to a developer, ignoring Nam's protests and Tu's pleas. He argued that progress was inevitable, that their father's land could generate opportunities, that tradition could not survive the modern world. "You cling to the past," Hung said one evening, standing in the fading light. "You and your stubbornness are destroying yourself, and Mother's health in the process." Nam's reply was quiet but fierce. "The past is what makes us human. Without it, we are nothing but strangers to our own blood." Tu's heart ached. He had always dreamed of being a bridge between his brothers, the one who could heal their wounds. But now he realized that sometimes love alone could not mend the cracks that pride and ambition had carved into a family. "Nam, Hung, please," he begged one night, tears streaming down his face. "We're destroying each other. Mother is suffering. Can't we find another way?" Nam shook his head, voice heavy with sorrow. "Tu, some choices are not ours to make. Some betrayals, once begun, cannot be undone." "And Hung?" He remained steadfast, unmoved by pleas or tears, focused only on the papers, the contracts, and the city's promises of wealth. By the end of the month, the Lam household had become a house of shadows. Nam worked the fields in silence. Tu wandered between the house and the courtyard, and Hung spent more time away, leaving letters in place of conversations. Even the mango tree, once a witness to laughter and childhood games, now seemed to bend its branches away, as if mourning the fracture it had seen unfold. That night, under the faint glow of lanterns, Nam whispered to the wind, "Father, forgive us. We are losing ourselves to the very thing you asked us to protect." Tu sat beside him, hand trembling as he held his brother's. "Nam, I don't know what to do anymore." Nam looked at him, eyes dark but resolute. "Sometimes doing the right thing means standing alone, Tu, even when it hurts more than anything." The seeds of betrayal had taken root, and the rift between brothers had widened into a canyon of silence, pride, and heartbreak. The morning air in Pu Thin was thick with heat, but inside the Lam household, tension was heavier still. The family that once shared meals and laughter now passed each other like strangers, each word spoken a potential spark for a fire long simmering. Hung had returned with a renewed sense of purpose. This time, he brought not only lawyers but also a small group of villagers who had been promised a share of profits from the upcoming development. Their eyes glinted with curiosity and judgment, as if watching a performance of a tragedy they had long awaited. "Nam," Hung began, his tone calm but firm, "we need to talk about the division. The contracts are ready. You need to sign, or the law will proceed without you." Nam's hands clenched. He stepped forward, voice low and steady. "I will not sign. Not a single line. This land is more than soil and contracts. It is our father's legacy, and I will defend it, even if I stand alone." Tu, sitting on the porch, felt the weight of the moment pressing on him. He had always believed that words could solve any conflict, but now he saw how fragile they were against pride and ambition. "Hung, can't we find a compromise?" Tu pleaded, voice shaking. "We can divide part of the land and leave the rest intact. Mother needs peace. Don't let this ruin her." Hung shook his head. "Peace is for the weak. Progress waits for no one. If you refuse, Nam, then I will have no choice but to follow through legally. The court will decide, and the land will be sold." The argument grew heated. Voices rose, neighbors whispered from the edge of the yard, and the mango tree outside swayed as if to shield itself from the storm of anger and resentment. Nam's reply was sharp. "You think law can replace love? You think contracts can measure loyalty? You are blind to what you destroy." Hung's expression hardened. "Blind? No, I see clearly. I see opportunity. I see growth. And you see, nothing but dirt and memories." The brothers glared at each other, the air vibrating with tension. Tu could barely breathe. He knew that words alone would no longer be enough. "Please," he said, voice breaking, "stop this. We are brothers. Our father's spirit must be watching. Can't you feel what you are doing?" But Hung's gaze was cold. "I am doing what must be done. The land is a tool, not a shrine. Accept it or be left behind." By afternoon, news of the dispute had spread across the village. Gossip reached neighbors and distant relatives, painting the once respected Lam family as fractured and greedy. The village elders shook their heads in sorrow. "It was always about respect and love," one said. "Now it is about money and pride." At home, Mrs. Hoa grew weaker each day. She no longer cooked or tended the garden. She sat by the window, staring at the fields that once brought joy, now shadowed by fear and conflict. Nam found himself walking the fields alone, thinking of his father's words. Land can be divided, love cannot. And yet, every contract, every signature Hung threatened, every whispered accusation, reminded him that love alone might not save what they once held dear. Night fell. The mango tree cast long shadows across the courtyard. Nam and Tu sat together in silence. "Brother," Tu whispered, "what if we lose? What if Hung wins everything?" Nam's eyes were dark, filled with resolve and sorrow. "If we lose the land, we may lose each other as well. But even then, I will not surrender what truly matters, the memory of Father and the bond we still have in our hearts." The seeds of betrayal, watered by pride and ambition, had begun to blossom into a storm. And for the first time, Nam realized that this battle would not be won by law, nor by wealth, but by courage, sacrifice, and the choice to forgive, or not. The village of Pu Thin had grown quiet, yet beneath the calm surface, tension simmered like molten lava. The rice field swayed gently under the wind, but in the Lam household, hearts were restless and eyes wary. Each step, each glance carried unspoken accusations. Hung had returned again, though this time his presence was less overt. Instead of confrontations, he employed silent strategies. Lawyers filing papers, contracts sent by courier, subtle negotiations with village authorities. It was a war fought not with shouts, but with signatures, rules, and relentless bureaucracy. Nam worked tirelessly in the fields. Each stroke of the hoe and each seed planted a silent act of defiance. He was determined to honor his father's memory, protect the land, and resist the erosion of family ties. Tu, caught in the middle, found himself walking a fine line. He visited Hung in the city, hoping to mediate, but the city brothers' eyes were fixed only on profits and legal victories. Tu, you don't understand, Hung said firmly. This isn't about hatred. It's about survival, about moving forward. You'll see one day. But survival, to Nam and Tu, felt hollow when measured against family bonds and ancestral legacy. Weeks passed in tension-filled silence. The brothers rarely spoke in person. Even casual greetings felt loaded with suspicion. Letters from Hung arrived regularly, polite but commanding, leaving Nam to respond with quiet, resolute refusal. The village watched. Neighbors whispered, "The Lam brothers no longer laugh together. The land has driven a wedge too deep." Mrs. Hoa grew weaker. Each day she sat by the window, staring at the fields and praying for reconciliation. But the war between her sons had begun to consume her spirit. Nam would often wander to his father's grave at dusk, speaking softly. "Father, they do not see what matters. They only see numbers and contracts." Tu, sitting beside him, whispered, "Brother, do you think this can ever end?" Nam's voice was heavy with sorrow. Perhaps, if hearts soften, but pride is a fortress, and walls are hard to break. The silent war escalated when Hung initiated legal inspections of the property, involving village authorities and distant surveyors. Nam, refusing to yield, filed counterclaims, citing ancestral protections and family heritage laws. The conflict became a game of endurance, patience, and resilience, testing not just their relationship, but the very essence of trust between brothers. "It feels like we are battling ghosts," Tu admitted one night. "Ghosts of the past, of what we once were." Nam nodded slowly. "Yes, and ghosts are harder to defeat than living enemies." Every interaction, every legal motion, every whisper in the village tightened the threads of tension. Even the mango tree, once a symbol of childhood joy, now stood silently, its branches heavy with the weight of unspoken resentments. By the end of the season, the Lam family was caught in a cycle of unending strife. Nam worked harder, Hung strategized further, and Tu felt the burden of indecision crush him. The village became a silent witness to the disintegration of a family once bound by love and memories. Nam realized something profound in the stillness of night. The battle for land is more than soil. It is a test of hearts, and sometimes the hardest war is not fought in courts or fields, but within ourselves. The silent war had begun, and none of the brothers knew how, or if it would ever end. The monsoon rains had come to Pu Thin, soaking the rice paddies and turning the village roads into rivers of mud. Inside the Lam household, however, no storm could rival the tension that had settled between the three brothers. Hung's legal team had made progress. Contracts were signed, surveys completed, and the court had approved partial divisions of the family land. The land, once a symbol of unity and legacy, was now marked with stakes and boundaries, as if slicing the family itself into pieces. Nam walked along the freshly marked borders, the soil damp under his feet. Each step felt like a betrayal, each marker a wound in the memory of his father. "Every stake is like a blade," he muttered to Tu, who followed silently. Tu's heart ached. He had tried to mediate, but the reality was becoming impossible to ignore. "Brother, maybe we can still find a way to save some of the land," he said softly. Nam shook his head, voice heavy with despair. "The land is already cracking, Tu, and with it, our family." Hung returned one afternoon, dressed sharply, his demeanor calm but his eyes sharp as knives. "Nam, we don't have to be enemies," Hung said, surveying the stakes in the field. "I've left some plots untouched for you. Mother will have a small garden. It's fair." Nam's hands clenched into fists. "Fair? You call this fair? You've turned inheritance into a battlefield, and you want me to be grateful?" Hung's smile was cold. "I'm simply adapting to reality. The village will benefit. The family will adjust. You'll see, one day, I'm right." Two stood between them, trying to bridge the widening gap. "Hung, please, don't make this worse. There must be another way. We can divide the profit without dividing us completely." Hung looked at him, expression unreadable. "Two, you are young and naive. Family, tradition, loyalty. These words are luxuries in a world of contracts and development." That evening, Nam sat by his father's grave, rain dripping onto the earth. He placed his hand over the soil, whispering to the memory of the man who had taught him the value of roots, love, and honor. "Father, Hung doesn't understand. He's blind to the heart of things, and I fear the worst is yet to come." Two sat beside him, unsure what to say. "Brother, what can we do? If we resist, we fight Hung. If we give in, we lose everything." Nam closed his eyes, pain etched on his face. Sometimes doing the right thing is not enough to. Sometimes love alone cannot heal the cracks. The village watched as the Lam brothers grew distant. Neighbors whispered about the stakes, the surveys, the legal letters. Children who once played in the fields ran past the marked boundaries, unaware that the lines drawn were not only in the soil, but in hearts. Mrs. Hoa grew weaker, her health declining with the family's fractured harmony. Each day she sat by the window, silently praying for reconciliation. "God, heal my sons before it's too late," she whispered. Nam continued to work the land, now more than ever, as if each stroke of the hoe could mend the fractures between them. Two walked between the house and fields, torn between loyalty to Nam and understanding Hung's ambitions. But one thing became clear. The cracks were deepening. And soon, the first confrontation that could shatter the family completely would arrive. The sun blazed down on Phu Thinh, casting long shadows across the rice paddies. But it wasn't the heat that made the village uneasy. It was the presence of the Lame brothers, finally facing each other in the open. The court had scheduled a mediation session, bringing Nam, Hung, and their lawyers together. The small village hall was filled with neighbors, curious onlookers, and even distant relatives, all bearing witness to what had once been a family united by love. "Brother," Hung began, voice steady and commanding, "this is the final chance to accept the division. The contracts are legal, the process clear. Resist, and the court will enforce the sale." Nam's eyes burned with determination. "This is more than law. This is blood, memory, and honor. I will not let you erase it." Two stood quietly, feeling the weight of the moment pressing on him. "Brothers, please," he whispered. "Is this really the way to resolve things?" Hung's gaze hardened. "Sometimes, too, the law is clearer than words, clearer than emotion. This is reality." Voices rose, heated words exchanged, echoes bouncing off the walls. Nam spoke with conviction. "Father's grave, our land, our childhood, these are not commodities to be sold. You cannot measure love with money, nor legacy with contracts." Hung's reply was cold and precise. "And yet, that is exactly what the world requires. You cling to the past, Nam. You are destroying yourself, and the family along with it." The villagers watched in silence, some trembling, some whispering among themselves. Two stepped forward, hands raised, attempting to mediate. "Hung, listen to Nam. There must be another way. Split the land, protect Mother's garden, honor the past, and still move forward." Hung shook his head slowly. "I see your intentions, too, but the outcome is inevitable. I cannot yield. The development will proceed, and I will not stop it." The confrontation reached its peak when Nam, voice breaking yet resolute, spoke directly to Hung. "If you proceed, you are not only dividing the land, you are dividing us, the family. And one day, you will realize that wealth without honor leaves only emptiness." Hung's eyes flickered with doubt, the first crack in his armor. "Nam, maybe you're right," he murmured quietly, almost to himself. "But I cannot go back now." Tu watched, heart heavy as the brothers' eyes met, not with the warmth of childhood, but with the fire of conflicting convictions. Mrs. Hoa, frail but present, stepped forward, voice trembling. "Children, please, the land, the disputes, do not let it destroy us. Think of me, think of Father, think of what truly matters." For a fleeting moment, silence fell. The weight of her words hung in the air, touching hearts that had long been hardened by pride. Nam lowered his gaze, taking a deep breath while Hung's hands tightened around the legal papers he had brought. Tu's voice quivered. "Brothers, it's not too late to choose family over conflict." As the meeting ended, the first seeds of reflection had been planted. Though the legal battle was far from over, the confrontation forced each brother to face their choices, their ambitions, and the consequences of their pride. The sun set over Phu Thin, painting the fields in gold, a reminder that beauty still existed despite conflict. Nam returned to the fields, feeling a mix of hope and sorrow. Tu stayed by his side, silently wondering whether reconciliation was possible. Hung left for the city, legal papers in hand, but a flicker of doubt lingered in his chest. A recognition, however faint, of what he risked losing. The cracks were deep, but perhaps with courage, reflection, and sacrifice, the family could still find a path to healing. The village of Phu Thin woke to the soft light of dawn, the mist hovering over rice paddies like a veil. After months of tension, conflict, and silent resentment, the Lam household seemed quieter, almost fragile, as if the very walls held their breath. Nam rose early as usual, walking through the fields with careful, deliberate steps. Each patch of soil reminded him of memories, his father's voice guiding him, the laughter of siblings echoing in the sunlight, and the warmth of a family once united. Tu joined him, hesitating before speaking. "Brother, maybe we can find a way to make peace." Hung has always been stubborn, yes, but deep down, I think he still cares. Nam's eyes softened slightly, looking toward the distant city roads where Hung had gone. "It's possible, too. But first, he must see what his ambition has cost. The land is not just earth, it's the bridge of our family. And right now, that bridge is broken." Hung returned to the village one evening, a letter in hand, different from the ones before. "Nam, Tu," he began, voice quieter than usual. "I've been thinking. Perhaps I've pushed too far. I don't want to lose us as brothers." Nam's heart tightened. He had longed to hear words like these, yet fear and pride kept him cautious. "Hung, words are easy, actions are harder." "Do you understand what's at stake?" Nam asked. Hung nodded. "I do. I see now. The pain I've caused, the family I've neglected, and the mother who suffers quietly while we fight." Tu stepped between them, relief flooding his chest. "It's not too late. Let's find a way to honor the land, Father's memory, and each other, together." Over the next days, small gestures began to bridge the gap. Hung helped repair fences he once insisted on selling. Nam allowed certain plots to be used for cooperative projects, ensuring both development and tradition could coexist. Tu mediated tirelessly, finding solutions that respected the past and accommodated the present. The villagers noticed the change. Whispers of reconciliation spread. The Lam brothers. Maybe they will heal after all. Mrs. Hoa, frail yet present, watched from her window with a mixture of hope and tears. "God, thank you," she whispered, seeing her sons begin to find each other again. Yet healing was not instant. The scars ran deep. The betrayals of months past left marks that could not be erased. But courage, humility, and love began to soften hardened hearts. One afternoon, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, the three brothers walked the fields together in silence. "Father would be proud," Tu murmured. Nam smiled faintly, placing a hand on Hung's shoulder. "Perhaps we still have a chance to honor him and ourselves." The land, still divided in parts, no longer felt like a battlefield. It had become a canvas for reconciliation, compromise, and the enduring bond of brotherhood. As night fell over Pu Thin, the mango tree swayed gently in the wind, bearing witness to a family learning the hard lesson that pride and ambition could destroy what love had built. But humility and courage could begin to restore it. Nam, Hung, and Tu had reached the edge of reconciliation. The final chapter awaited, where their choices, sacrifices, and courage would determine whether the family could truly heal. The dawn in Pu Thin carried a sense of quiet renewal. After months of strife, legal battles, and broken trust, the Lam family was finally ready to face the consequences of their choices. The land, once a battlefield, now awaited the careful hands and hearts of its rightful caretakers. Nam, Hung, and Tu gathered at the family home. The morning air was filled with birdsong, a gentle contrast to the months of tension and anger that had shadowed the village. "It's time," Nam said, voice steady. "Time to make things right, not just with the land, but with each other." Hung nodded, a weight lifted from his shoulders. "I understand now. I let ambition blind me. I forgot what truly matters. I'm sorry, Nam, and Tu. I want to make amends." Tu, tears glistening in his eyes, stepped between them. "We can rebuild, not just the land, but our family. Let's start together." Over the following days, the brothers worked side by side. They repaired fences, replanted fields, and marked boundaries carefully to respect both tradition and progress. Hung negotiated fairly with the developers, ensuring that portions of the land remained in the family, preserving both heritage and income. Nam guided the work in the fields, sharing the knowledge passed down from their father, while Tu coordinated between family and village, mending relationships that had been frayed by months of conflict. The villagers watched in awe. Whispers turned to praise. The Lam brothers, they finally found their way back to each other. Mrs. Hoa, frail but smiling, blessed her sons. "God has answered my prayers," she whispered. "You have learned that love, courage, and forgiveness are stronger than pride and greed." The mango tree, once a silent witness to their conflicts, now stood as a symbol of endurance and renewal. Its branches, heavy with fruit, cast gentle shadows over the fields, reflecting the unity restored among the brothers. Nam placed a hand on the trunk, feeling the pulse of the earth beneath him. "Father, we have finally understood. Your legacy is not the soil alone, but the bond we share as a family." Hung stepped beside him, quietly nodding. "And we will protect it, together, from now on." Tu, standing between them, smiled softly. "The cracks are mended. Not perfectly, but enough to let love grow again." The legal battles, the anger, the silent wars, all became lessons etched into their hearts. They had learned that inheritance is not measured solely in land or money, but in memory, honor, and the bonds of family. The past could not be undone, but the future could be built with courage, humility, and forgiveness. As the sun set over Fu Tin, golden light bathed the fields, and the brothers stood together, side by side. They knew that storms might come again, but their bond, strengthened by trials, would endure. And for the first time in months, Nam, Hung, and Tu felt peace, true, lasting, and hard-earned. And to the audience, What would you do if you were in the Lam brothers' shoes? How would you handle pride, betrayal, and the weight of family legacy? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's discuss how love, courage, and forgiveness can guide us through even the most difficult conflicts. The story of Nam, Hung, and Tu ends here. But the lessons of family, resilience, and reconciliation are universal, and perhaps they will help someone find light in their own storm.